If you want a healthy tree, you got to heal the root and not just treat the leaves. So I'm going to glance down and look at my notes occasionally, hope that's okay. But modern day, we treat the leaves of our tree. I like to think of the leaves as like the symptoms of our life or kind of the external things. We treat those, or are told to treat those, with like anti-anxiety meds or ADHD meds, depression meds, all sorts of crazy shit. Let me ask you a question. What if there was a way that you could pull yourself out of or cure depression, anxiety, or even deeper mental health crises like PTSD, trauma? Well, guess what? You're in luck, because today in this video, we're going to talk about how myself and others like you have done just that. We're talking about natural psychedelic medicine. So keep an open mind, because with the help of these ancient magical potions, you may just have your mind opened. I've seen magic happen. I've seen war-torn veterans finding peace after watching others that they know be killed, or even killing people themselves. I've seen clinical depression being cured after 30 plus years of this person being on heavy medication. I've seen myself breaking free and other people breaking free of years of drug or porn addiction almost overnight. And those are only a couple examples of what I've seen and what's possible. So a couple disclaimers before I put you onto some modern day magic. Number one, I am not encouraging anyone to do anything illegal. I want you to decide for yourself based on your region, your local laws, and your own gut feeling if this is even something you should look into. Number two, I personally don't recommend the use of casual psychedelics for most people. They just are not cut out for it mentally, and that's a deep journey that most people are not ready for. Intentional use, meaning the use with a purpose or in a sacred or ceremonial way, is what I'm talking about here today. And a quick thought, the difference between medicine and poison is the dose. These natural psychedelic medicines are powerful tools, but they come with risks and danger if not used respectfully and safely. So like I say, it's not for everyone. You got to really be careful and make sure this is right for you through your own discernment. And lastly, I'm going to spitball this in a way a fifth grader could understand. I've got some notes here, and I'm speaking from my current level of knowledge. So if I miss something, or if you have thoughts, definitely comment down below. But let's jump in. So after this video, real quick, if you're curious and you want to learn more about psychedelic medicines, I have a community in my description down below where you can learn and connect with other seekers of knowledge like yourself. But with that out of the way, let's dive into the three medicines I personally have a lot of experience with. The ones that I've seen cure crazy things or help people out of some really deep shit. And this does not include everything out there, because again, this is my biased review of what I have personally learned about and also worked with myself. So first things first, let's talk about psilocybin, otherwise known as magic mushrooms. They are called magical for a reason, and they are literally as old as time itself. They are all over the world at this point, but apparently they originated or are more commonly found in areas like United States and Mexico. And originally, these mushrooms were used all throughout the world for sacred, religious, and or tribal type ceremonies. But they are now considered incorrectly, in my opinion, a street drug. They're still used in ceremonial settings and also casually. And the coolest part is even in medical treatments modern day, which we'll talk about. So here, in my opinion, is why psilocybin kicks ass. It's natural, although it does have some risks that come with it. At least it's coming from the earth rather than created in some lab. It's been proven to massively reduce depression, anxiety, help cure things like PTSD, and other mental illnesses. Almost immediately, people see relief when they use psilocybin. And if you want to learn more about the studies they're doing, Johns Hopkins University, as well as other schools of thought or medical professional organizations, are using and studying psilocybin or magic mushrooms for therapeutic use, which is absolutely badass. And I want to talk more about why these work and why I love them so much. The reason why is because when you consume mushrooms, they work on all four levels: mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. Mentally, they've proven this. They allow your brain to rewire itself through something called neuroplasticity. So I want you to think of your brain almost becoming like flexible when you take mushrooms. And the cool thing is that our brain is able to relearn or unlearn certain patterns, or even the way the neurons are set up in our brain, which dictates our behavior and kind of the way our brain operates as a whole, which is super powerful. It's badass. That's why those people that have got relief from long-term illnesses and other things of that nature got that relief, because it allows their brain to unlearn those behavioral patterns, and it gives them the ability to mentally, physically, emotionally process that emotion. So for example, the person I know that like went to war, that's a whole lot of shit to process. And when you work with psilocybin, it allows you to feel those emotions in a safe way and kind of let go of them, which does a lot for you on a physical level, emotional level, and a mental level. And a beautiful thing about mushrooms is it's also a very spiritual experience, which leads to a lot of benefits. In my experience, things like a sense of connection to all things. Maybe you become a little hippie-ish, just joking. You also feel a lot of love and peace through the use of psilocybin. And like I say, mushrooms are as old as time. So they've been here way longer than us. They have so much information stored within them. You almost get to tap into that library of the Earth's knowledge. I know it sounds crazy, but it's badass. So another amazing function is something called neurogenesis. And this thing, neurogenesis, allows our brain to actually heal on a cellular level. There's actually a UFC fighter you can look up named Ian McCall, who's using and has used psilocybin or magic mushrooms to actually heal from traumatic brain injury from beating ass and getting his ass beat in the UFC, which is super cool. So like I say, in my experience personally, they've been incredibly powerful. I've healed from traumatic experiences in childhood and young adulthood, and they've also helped me to just grow spiritually in general as I've grown to become a better human. I've used them casually and also ceremonially, and I would say that they're far better when they're done with an intention, so a reason to do them, not just doing them for the hell of it, and in a controlled environment where you can really surrender and enjoy the experience, and really focus on yourself. Or if you're going to do it, like not in a quote-unquote controlled environment, go in nature, but be safe, obviously, as always. I've done both macro doses, which is like a lot, right? And even more than a hero's dose for those who know about mushrooms, that's quite a bit. And I've also done a lot of micro dosing throughout the last couple of years. So in my opinion, macro doses, meaning a larger dose, are the best for cleaning out the cobwebs in your head and giving you kind of that full-blown reset that sometimes we need when life gets hectic and you're feeling confused or just like, yeah, a little bit fucked up. You can use that as a way to almost reset and reconnect to the things that matter in yourself. And I would say that microdoses are great for antidepressant, for anti-anxiety, as well as improving your brain function. So you can almost use them as a nootropic, if you know what that is, to learn faster. People do it to like learn Spanish faster and shit. Or you can work smarter. Cheat code, if you combine microdose with coffee, it's fucking awesome. They're also great for hikes and slow days to connect with yourself, others, and nature. So if you want to see a video of me deep diving on mushrooms, definitely let me know down below in the comments, and I'm happy to do so. And secondly, my second, I don't know if I'd say these are in order of my favorites, but the second of my favorites is something called ayahuasca. I'm going to tell you about this. Ayahuasca is what a lot of people call the master plant. They call it the grandmother, and you're probably wondering, what the hell does that mean? So I'm going to explain. They call ayahuasca the master plant because it's one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful medicines that we have for healing, transformation, and growth on a mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical level. I've heard of people who even have like multiple sclerosis, or MS for short, going and drinking ayahuasca and they have their symptoms go away, which is crazy. So that's why they call it the master plant, 'cause it's the shit. It really does help you on all levels profoundly. And they call it the grandmother because everything in the universe has either masculine or feminine energy, meaning like male energy, but it's really not male, it's not gender related, just masculine, and also feminine energy or female energy. And ayahuasca has definitely a very powerful female energy, and similar to your grandmother, it can cuddle you and soothe you and bake you cookies, or it can whip your ass and kind of scald you. So that's why they call it the grandmother. It's a very, like I say, feminine experience or feminine energy, which we can talk more about what it does in a second. But when it comes to the most bang for your buck, that's not really the best way to look at it, but just for simple terms, right? I said I'll explain this in a way a fifth grader could understand. When it comes to the most bang for your buck and the most transformational experience, ayahuasca for sure is the one. With that in mind, I want to tell you about how this was discovered because it's super interesting. So ayahuasca was first discovered by the Amazonian tribes probably thousands of years ago. But here's the kicker and the mystery of the whole thing. It was made from two separate plants, the chacarona leaves and the ayahuasca or the capi vine originally. Those are two different plants in the Amazon jungle. And you got to think, in the Amazon, there are millions of plants and also millions of possible plant combinations. So it leaves you to wonder, how the hell did they figure this out? The odds of the tribespeople figuring out these two plants and this specific combination is nearly impossible, but they say in their traditions that they were spoken to by the plants, or I think of it as like God or the universe, divine inspiration gave them the recipe, so to speak, to help them raise in consciousness and to heal themselves. And so that's pretty amazing and magical if you ask me. So ayahuasca has been used for thousands of years in this region. And now worldwide, because obviously the word gets out, using not only the original blend of the chacarona leaves and the capi vine, but also other plants you can use to create the same concoction. It's used in ceremonial settings all over the world now, including the United States, which is crazy. So with that being said, people seeking, like I did, a profound spiritual experience, healing, or answers to the deep questions in their life, or just general transformation, they come together, and like I have in the past, in groups to drink this medicine and receive what they need. It gives you what you ask for, like a genie in a bottle. It's the craziest shit. So earlier, when I said that I've seen people and I talked about people who are getting off of drugs or stopping their porn addiction, curing their depression and healing from PTSD, I was talking about ayahuasca specifically. That's the one thing I've seen be the most powerful above all the others, although there is a time and place for each, which we'll talk about. The reason I love ayahuasca and I think it's so powerful, and those of you who have tried it, you might agree. Those that have done research, you might have heard this. It really gets to the root of the issue. It shows you very clearly what it is that's in your way or what it is you're looking for. It doesn't really beat around the bush. And it's hard to explain if you haven't experienced it, but basically you're exploring your own mind and it's showing you the things in your life that you may not see, or you do see, and you're choosing not to. Unlike other psychedelics, ayahuasca is entirely, like I just said, a personal and unique experience for each person. I can't tell you what your experience is going to be. All I know is you'll get what you ask for, and it may not be in the way that you want, but it'll be in the way you need through the source of your intention. Again, it allows us to explore our subconscious mind, and we receive, almost like a genie granting a wish, the intention that we set. So the beautiful thing about ayahuasca is it's also non-addictive. In fact, I think you're a crazy fuck if you want to do this all the time. I don't know why anyone would want to do that or would do that in the first place. It is definitely a once in a while thing because it's not an addictive experience. In fact, it can be kind of hard and intense, but although beautiful and amazing, it's very alluring. It's very much a curious thing, and you'll hear that call if it's for you to try it, and even after you've tried it, it'll call you back. You'll feel, okay, it's time, I got to go back in and explore. So there are risks, just like with any psychedelic. It's important you're in the right place with the right people, and safety is the most important thing above all else. In my personal experience, ayahuasca took me from, I'm literally done with life, I'm going to kill myself, and it pulled me out of that and showed me what it meant to love myself on a deep level and to really take care of myself so I don't go back to that dark place. I've worked with it to gain clarity on my purpose. So much of what I'm doing in my life right now stems from the inspiration and the visions I got during my ayahuasca ceremonies in the past. And it's really helped teach me how to live my life in a way that's more holistic and not so caught up in the rat race and all that shit like I was prior. So I would say that ayahuasca truly is magical, like a magic potion. It's badass. And I'm so grateful that for whatever reason I ended up in Costa Rica, and this really helped pull me out of the pits. I've experienced it many times, and each time was with very experienced and trained people in a safe environment, specifically for ceremonial use. It wasn't just for the hell of it. There was a purpose of why I was doing it. So that's very important to remember. And just a side note, around a year ago, I decided to start training to bring this to life and help other people through that journey as well. And I've actually partnered with a retreat center in the United States that's been doing this for 20 years. There's a link down below if you want to learn more about the retreats I run. I'd love to support you through one of these journeys and help you with your healing, growth, and transformation. But lastly, I saved the best or most interesting for last, believe it or not. So our third medicine we're going to talk about today is something called San Pedro, otherwise known as Wachuma. You may know this as a cactus, but I'm going to tell you a story of how this came to be and how this medicine got its name of San Pedro. So I don't know how long ago, but at one point in time, the Spanish were rolling deep all around the world and also conquering certain countries long ago. And at one point they came to Peru. And in the ancient Andes Mountains, which are these like beautiful mountain ranges in Peru, they found that people, like the local tribes or villagers, would cut up this cactus, and after long hours of working the cactus, preparing it, they would drink something they created from it. And that's what we now know as the San Pedro cactus, which, believe it or not, you can go buy at your local nursery right now. Don't tell everybody. So what happens? These Spanish see that after consuming this cactus, the Andean people, the Peruvian people, would have these profound visions, and they would just act from a place of pure love and connection and joy. And the Spanish were curious. They're like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is this? And they were Christian, right? The Spanish were. So them being curious, they decided they were going to drink this magical potion or medicine and see what it was about for themselves. The Spanish couldn't believe what happened next because they claimed that they connected to God, they saw and talked to God, and they experienced heaven on earth, like literally pure bliss, the best feeling they had ever had up until that point. And so what happened is they felt unconditional love that they related to how Jesus felt, and they experienced enlightenment almost during their journey. Unfortunately, when it was over, their conquering continued, and they ended up killing and slaughtering and stealing from all the Peruvian people, which is super sad. And a lot of the Peruvian traditions or Andean traditions got lost. But not San Pedro. The Spanish decided to rename the cactus, which originally was called Huachuma, or that's at least what the medicine was called, and they renamed it to San Pedro. And the beautiful thing about San Pedro is it translates to Saint Peter, which in the Bible and Christian text, they talk about Saint Peter guarding the gates to heaven. So think about it. They named this cactus and this medicine the guard to the gates of heaven. So that's the best way I can describe it, that when you drink this, you literally get to experience heaven on earth. You get to experience bliss, pure unconditional love. For those of you who have delved into other substances, if you've ever done MDMA, it's like natural MDMA times a million. It's wonderful. So pretty powerful story. The thing about San Pedro is it's considered the grandfather. So we have ayahuasca that's considered the grandmother, San Pedro's the grandfather, and the mushrooms are like the little kids because they're just clever, as my mentor likes to say. So the reason that they call San Pedro the grandfather is because it's a very masculine energy. And I mean, literally think of a cactus. It's an earth dick. It's like a cock. You know what I'm saying? So that's why. It's a very masculine, male type energy. A little bit more soft, believe it or not, than ayahuasca, a little bit more chill. Like imagine hanging out with your grandpa. Like he just wants to go like wander around the park and do cool shit and tell stories. That's San Pedro. It's like hanging out with your mystical cactus grandpa. And the reason that it's powerful is because it has a substance in it called mescaline, which is very similar to the peyote cactus, but it has way different effect on you compared to that cactus. So when you consume San Pedro, just like the ancient Andean people or the Spaniards, you will experience heaven on earth. It's pure bliss, pure happiness, pure connection to yourself, the universe, and all things, which is pretty cool. And like I say, this medicine, just like ayahuasca or psilocybin, can completely alter you for the better after one use. It melts away the walls that we keep around our heart, maybe it's from past hurts or heartbreaks. It helps us to face our fears. It puts us in touch with almost our most childlike and innocent self and authentic self, specifically San Pedro. And so yeah, I think San Pedro, from a pure enjoyment, like I had fun with it, it was cool, is my favorite psychedelic. Like I said though, I believe that other psychedelics like ayahuasca have a more direct way, like they get really to the root of the problem with people compared to San Pedro, but San Pedro is a beautiful tool and also overall experience. I personally first tried mushrooms, then I tried ayahuasca, and then San Pedro. That was my order of progression. I think that's a good path of progression, but that's not required. And honestly, if I'm thinking about it, I think it's best to try something like ayahuasca, or if you're gonna do mushrooms or San Pedro, in a controlled environment first, rather than just doing, let's say, mushrooms on your own with some friends or in the mountains, because number one, safety, number two, the experience, and also learning how to use them in a way that's safe and productive. It doesn't leave you confused or lost or putting yourself in harm's way. So on second thought, I'd recommend that. But I just want to say really quick, now that we've covered my 3 favorite medicines in this video, I just want to say I'm super excited because they're studying certain substances like this for therapeutic use to help people with PTSD or even like relationship counseling. And I think it's going to be amazing for our society as a whole if these things become more available. Because again, when used safely, when used for a good purpose, they are, I mean, there's nothing like it. It's a cheat code to life. I remember when I was a kid playing video games like World of Warcraft or Skyrim or these other games, you could get like drink potions or get like character buffs or what are they called, like power-up abilities or cheat codes. And honestly, this is what this is in real life for me in my experience. It's the shit. I love it. That's why I'm dedicating my life to bring it to the masses and help people experience it safely so they can heal and transform and grow. So if you want to learn more about how to safely work with these medicines or just curious to meet other people who have experienced it and pick their brain, you can join my community called the Psychedelic Medicine Family down below in the description. If you want to experience this yourself in a safe and proven way, you can attend one of my retreats, also linked down below. And I will make more videos on this topic soon. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you took away. And if there's anything in particular you want to hear about or learn about in my experience, I can make trip report videos talking about my experiences. I can talk more about the science, the heady stuff, whatever you need. But for now, I'm going to let you go. Much love, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.